What's up, fight fans? I'm Jim Grieshaber. Call me Gries, and this is Cage Side Seat, the best MMA talk with the biggest names in the sport from the best seat in the house. Only on MMA Weekly. MMA Weekly, the most trusted news and entertainment source in mixed martial arts for almost 20 years. So excited about this partnership. We've gotten it going over the past few weeks with some great interviews, some awesome content, and we're only going to keep building. So keep those comments coming, keep those suggestions coming. We're going to do a lot of things that you want to see as we move along with our relationship with MMA Weekly. And speaking of great relationships, I've had one for a long time with my next guest here on MMA Weekly with Cage Side Seat. We've known each other almost 10 years. He's an Army captain. He's a military wrestling champion. He has 4 MMA championship belts, 2 UFC, 2 Bellator, with Henry Cejudo and Patricio Pitbull, 2 double champs. Looking for number 5 this weekend in Abu Dhabi at UFC 253 with the Eraser, Paulo Costa, going from the little guys from flyweight all the way up to 155, and now looking for the middleweight championship belt with Paulo is Captain Eric Albarracin, who joins me now from Fight Island. I've known you, Captain, for almost 10 years. You and Henry, and I've been blessed to be around you guys as you've been building this championship team. I remember when Paulo Costa first came in and I met him and I was like, man, who is this dude? And now this week he fights for the title. You've been on Fight Island for almost a week now. The weigh-ins are done, the fight's tomorrow. Talk to us a little bit about what it's been like on Fight Island so far.
It's been hot. We went to quarantine from Brazil. We flew to London. 2 days quarantine in the hotel room by yourself. Then we flew to Abu Dhabi another 2 days, about 5 or 6 COVID-19 tests. But you're right, it is us versus City Kickboxing. But you know what? I like those guys at City Kickboxing. You know, I was scouting Israel, one of Israel's fights. And I don't know if it was Gastelum or Whitaker, but one of them, you know, after he won, he gave the belt to his coach Huge. So, you know, I can appreciate that. Henry did similar to that after he beat Demetrius Johnson. We had been together since 2004. So I can really appreciate that. I like those guys at City Kickboxing. Kai Kara fans, Cobra Kai. He was on the Ultimate Fighter show. So, you know, I want to extend I'd like to extend an offer to them, because after we beat them up come Saturday, they're all willing to come to my gym. And we have job openings at the front desk, and we're going to have some, we're also looking for janitors and belt cleaners.
Oh, boy, here we go, that gamesmanship, man. Nobody sells a fight better than you. And City Kickboxing, obviously your main competition for Coach of the Year is Eugene Bierman. And, you know, obviously if you win this belt, too, it goes from 4 belts to 2 to 5 to 1, because you'll be taking one of theirs and adding another one to your collection, and taking it directly from that competition would be a nice feather in your cap, whether you win Coach of the Year or not, right? But one thing's for sure, you're going to need a lot more belt cleaners if you keep this up. You say 4 belts, but I say, look, that's 14 with the title defenses. So a lot of belts in your collection, Captain Eric, and a lot of cleaning that needs to be done.
True, so that's 14. If we're concluding everything and all the title fights I've been in with 14, that's why I have this. A skull for each title defense, so I'm at 14. And we got a big opening for that fight on Saturday, when Paulo Costa erases the last style bender. We're gonna bend him like a pretzel. Ain't gonna be no more running, because he's gonna be flying in the air when Paulo Costa double legs him and throws him on top of his head. And then with some vicious ground and pound, Paulo's gonna separate social distance his opponent's nose from his face by 6 feet.
Yeah, but ironically, speaking of social distancing, not a lot of social distancing between those 2 fighters this week, Paulo and Izzy, between the gamesmanship at the weigh-ins and the press conference, and then they ran into each other in the hallway earlier this week. You weren't there, but it looked like a cool exchange, pleasantries, kind of sizing each other up, tapping each other on the shoulder. What happened there?
Before I get that, I'm going to take this mask off, but this was specially made by my high school coach, the Eraser. We got 4 stars for the 4 belts, and the 5th one is right here on the Eraser, the A. So what I can tell you, it wasn't there, because had I been there, probably would have been different, because all these guys are telling me that they were asking for me. They're like, where's that little coach at? Where's the wrestling coach? So I don't know who was asking, but that was what my teammates and the other coaches were telling me. I don't know if anything was lost in translation. So I was like, wow, they're asking about me. Then they got 16 guys here, I believe. I have about 13 or 14, so they got 4 fighters. So I didn't want to get caught in the Artem Lobov situation again, when like he was with Khabib, where Conor McGregor had to fly down and throw a dolly through the bus because they attacked his friend while he was by himself. So I actually hired private security, Soul Glow, Bohashina, the Eraser's main sparring partner. I hired him after we got to London. I said, listen, I'm going to put you on the payroll. You're going to be my private security guard through this, through the next week. Make sure all the elevators you clear all the elevators and clear all the rooms we go into. You never know. We're trying to keep it professional.
No doubt, all business, all professional. You see the flash, you see the gamesmanship, you see the wardrobe. All that's making money and all that's building a business and a brand. But Captain Eric, it's all business. You're professional, all about it. And something about you, you seem to recognize that quality and those characteristics that make a champion early on in the game. You noticed it with Henry. You met him in Colorado at the Olympic Training Center when you guys were there training. The Pitbull brothers and, of course, Paulo Costa. How did you meet Paulo? How did you start working with him? And when did you realize he could be the next one of your champions?
I met Paulo at the Ultimate Fighter in 2013. I believe it was 2013, the Ultimate Fighter 3, Brazil. And he was on Vanderlei's team, and I was on Chael Sonnen's team. But I always thought, when I first saw him fight to get into the house, I thought he was a heavyweight, because he was so big. When I found he was a 185-pounder, I was impressed. And back then he was only 3-0. I think I don't know if he lost first or second round, but when then I didn't talk to him for a couple of years, but then he got into the UFC, and I think he sent me a message on Facebook Messenger, or I sent him a message, but I can't remember. I got to go back and look who sent the message. But I remember he was saying, I'm in the UFC. Hey, coach, I'm in the UFC. And I said, man, that's great. Couple things. Start practicing your English. And I said, you're going to have to start practicing wrestling too, because I guarantee you're going to throw you against a wrestler within the first 3 fights. And sure enough, by the 3rd fight, he had Johnny Hendricks, not only a wrestler, a national champion, and on top of that, a former UFC champion. So he came out to the U.S. He came to Fight Ready MMA, and we trained there. And we learned some English. His first English lesson, I sat him at my house, and I made him watch The Eraser, the movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And, you know, we put hopefully I was thinking he would change his name to it, and he was thinking exactly the way I did. And after he watched the movie, he says, I want to be called The Eraser. And I was like, you know what? I like that idea, because one day maybe you're going to be a super action star, superhero. And if there's going to be anybody that could do it, that was you, it would be you. And the person to emulate would be Arnold Schwarzenegger. And lo and behold, 2 years later, when we fought Israel Adesanya, the Terminator, the Eraser himself, Arnold Schwarzenegger was sitting front row, and we got to speak with him, and that was pretty cool. After Paulo won in Anaheim against Yoel Romero.
Wow, not the answer I expected, but a great answer nonetheless, because when you beat Yoel Romero, an Olympic silver medalist in wrestling, obviously you know that you're headed to the top, and you're at the top of the division. Izzy barely beat him and outlasted him in what a lot of people ripped him for, a performance earlier this year. But Paulo Costa outstruck Yoel on the feet and with the feet. That head kick he had was amazing. His takedown defense was great in that fight. And one thing I've seen Paulo do a lot of is wrestle and grapple, being around Fight Ready, being around you, being around Henry, and seeing him in Arizona when he's here in that at camp with you, that Champ camp, when Henry was getting ready for, I think it was Marlon Moraes. It wasn't Dominic Cruz. Maybe it was Dillashaw, but I think it was the Marlon Moraes fight. But anyway, you had all those champions in one spot, and we came in, and just seeing Paulo working that ground game, and that's one thing that people don't realize. He hasn't shown it off at all in the UFC and really as a professional fighter, because he's finishing people. 53% significant strikes landed, which is the best in the division and the best in the UFC for that matter. But Paulo Costa's grappling, he's a jiu-jitsu black belt, is phenomenal. And I know, being in your camp, his wrestling's on point too.
Right. Everybody keeps talking about the striking. Israel's got 100 matches in kickboxing. They're all talking about how he's a bull and Izzy's the matador. And I'm like, you guys are forgetting this is MMA. You got wrestling. You got grappling. You got a black belt in jiu-jitsu. Paulo's phenomenal on the ground. So, yes. There ain't gonna be no running in that cage, because we're going after his legs, and he ain't gonna run. He's gonna fly when Paulo double legs him on top of his head. So it's gonna be we're gonna exploit those weaknesses. We're gonna test out his wrestling. We're gonna test out his jiu-jitsu. We're gonna see what else he has besides his kickboxing.
Yeah, man, and everything looks good, pretty smooth so far. The weight cut seemed like it went okay. He was right on weight, early to weigh in, and no problems there. And I'm assuming that everything just went pretty smooth. How did that all go?
He's feeling great. We brought Dr. Dan down from Arizona as well into his camp. He's been treating him, chiropractor, massage, physical therapy on anything and everything he needs. We also brought Henry Cejudo down. Henry came down on his own, really. Henry came because I remember when Henry beat Demetrius Johnson, Paulo was in the arena, and Paulo, besides me, was the happiest guy in the arena. I remember after we won, we were walking out of the cage, and I saw Paulo first in front row. I remember running and jumping over the fence, the barrier, and right into his arms, and we were going crazy. It was a special moment, because it was great to see him there to support Henry, in one of the greatest sports moments in history, when he beat Demetrius Johnson, probably the greatest MMA fighter of all time, with 11 title defenses. He beat Anderson Silva's record. And then Henry came down in reciprocation and came down to the camp, and the Olympic champion gave us some of his talked about his Olympic mindset, Olympic champion mindset. Also, wrestling. So you're not going to get any better than that when it comes to an Olympic champion mindset and Olympic champion wrestling. So, Paulo's ready in all areas. Believe me. If it's box, we got an Olympic boxer that went to the 2004 Olympics in Badola. If it's Muay Thai, we have a Muay Thai coach, Lucas Wallacey from Phoenix Top Team, and he's the one that brought Soul Glow, Vanderlei Toquinho, Muay Thai world champion, into the camp. Then you have Carlos Bohasha, the leader of the team, who's, he retired from MMA and sacrificed and dedicated his life to really all for this moment, and watching his little brother achieve their dream, really his dream. So it's going to be special come Saturday night, and I can't wait.
Captain Eric Albarracin, nominated for Coach of the Year, the World MMA Awards. He's got 2 double champs, Patricio Pitbull in Bellator at 145 and 155, and Henry the Messenger Cejudo in the UFC at 125 and 135. Looking for belt number 5 with the eraser, Paulo Costa. And Captain, remember when you came to my show when we launched in Vegas in January? KG, Kelvin Gastelum, was there. By the way, shout out to KG. Look for my interview with him on MMA Weekly this weekend, as well as he had that big fight with Adesanya. He's trained with Paulo. His buddy Uriah Hall fought Paulo in what was a big fight for Paulo at the time. Huge finish to come back in that fight over Uriah Hall. But when you came to my show in January with Hodor, who just got signed by Bellator, by the way, you came to my show and we talked a little bit about this. And you said, hey, I want to move up and train some champions in the higher weight classes. And it starts with the eraser, Paulo Costa, and goes from there. This is your chance this weekend to get that going.
Oh yeah, it's different with bigger guys. I feel like there's a lot more attention on this fight. I mean, it shouldn't be like that because champs, there are very few champs, and we were talking about 4 belts and they have 2, but 4 belts is listen, you don't think 4 is more than 2, then I need to speak with your math teacher because it just got proven by Michael Chandler, who just got into the UFC and is already back up for the UFC title. Who beat him in a minute was Patricio Pitbull to become champ. So not only did Henry and Patricio become champs, they beat the greatest of all times in their weight in the UFC, in MMA to do it. So Michael Chandler was the greatest lightweight of all time. And Patricio beat him, and DJ and Henry beat him. So to become champ. So not only do 4 belts, but 2 champs which is like saying unicorns. There aren't that many unicorns in the world. And I can tell you that Paulo also is a unicorn. Don't be surprised if he goes up and goes after another belt. He really wanted John Jones, but John Jones is moving up. And so he wants the big names, but in my eyes, we do like Henry did. Henry, I wanted the big name too, and Henry taught me better. I was like, man, we wanted TJ at 135, but he failed the doping test. And I was like, man, maybe we don't want to fight Marlon. It's not a big enough name. But Henry taught me. He's like, wait a minute. He got that belt, and then we become the name. He became the name. He became the big draw, and that could happen with Paulo too. There's not a big name at 205 as a champion, but if there's a champ at 205, now you got the target on your back, and you become the big name, and you become the big draw, and you become the pay-per-view monster.
No doubt, man. And like I said earlier, not only would it be your 5th belt, it takes one away from them, so it would go from 4-2 to 5-1, leaving no doubt which team is the best and which coach is the best.
Oh, yeah. Well, we got City Kickboxing figured out. From their tactics, their strategies. Paulo's taking out, is going to erase the style bender. He's going to bend him like a pretzel. And then, I got 3 guys that could beat Volkanovski at 145. We have Triple C, come C4 if that fight ever happens. You got the Korean Zombie, who's about to fight Brian Ortega, and that's a big fight because there's some bad blood there from when Ortega slapped Korean Zombie's best friend Jay Park. So that's gonna fight. It's gonna happen here on Fight Island, October 17th. Zombie Apocalypse 2020. That's going down this month. And then Patricio Pitbull. Patricio Pitbull's got $1 million bet with Dana White. And if you don't know, now you know. Dana White likes to bet. So I'd love to see that fight. And if that fight happens, Patricio wins by knockout.
Man, we really need to get Dana to take that bet, but he'll never do it unless Pitbull comes over to the UFC like Mike Chandler just did.
Right. Well, I don't think it's Patricio coming over from Bellator to fight him, or going into the UFC and leaving Bellator. I think what he wants is a cross-promotion fight, and that's the incentive of the $1 million bet. Patricio's in his own Grand Prix tournament right now. We're getting ready to fight SVG. We're going to take out City Kickboxing, and then we're going to take out SVG. We're supposed to take them out in the main event on October 3rd. It was supposed to be Pitbull's brothers versus SVG. We're going to go to Ireland, invade their land, burn the ships, and take the castle. But because of COVID-19, that all got canceled. So now it looks like it's going to be in November. Patricio Pitbull is going to fight Pedro Carvalho. And we're going to go through him, and then we're going to win the $1 million Grand Prix tournament. So that's the $1 million I think he's talking about.
Yeah, man, no doubt. Big things coming up for you, Captain Eric, and your stable of fighters, the Pitbull brothers. You were just talking about them. Of course, you got the Korean Zombie coming up against Brian Ortega. Paulo this weekend. Nobody knows what Henry Cejudo is going to do next. Maybe you do. You're not letting that cat out of the bag yet for Henry. But, man, 14 title fights. You've got 4 championship belts. Looking for number 5 this weekend. Army captain, wrestling champion, MMA championship coach, entrepreneur. You got so many things going on in your life. But so many people only see the glitz, the flash, the crazy fur coat, the glasses, the spikes everywhere, the skulls, the shoes. Captain Eric, the persona. So many fans misunderstand you, and people say, wow, you're friends with that dude? He's crazy. Captain Eric, that dude's cringe. He's this, he's that. And fans don't really know you, man. So I want to give you this opportunity to explain yourself and who you are to the fans. And I'm not saying you want to change their perception of you, man, but a lot of people I feel like don't know you the way I do, and some people like me, and they kind of judge you by some of the things that you do in your character and in your persona.
But you know what? I do not care what none of those people think. The only thing I care about is my fighters and how well they perform in the cage and their well-being. All that other stuff doesn't mean shit. You know why? Because it don't matter if they like you. It don't matter if they hate you, as long as they watch you. And I can tell you how I know this, because it was Henry. I kept telling Henry, hey, Henry, at this weight class, you're going to need a little bit of personality. But when you come from wrestling, you really don't sell. You don't have to sell matches. First of all, there's no money in wrestling. Can't even accept money. The other thing is you're wrestling possibly 5 matches in a day, and at least every weekend. There's no time to promote fights. You got 15 minutes between one match and the other. And it's all about, it's tradition. You got to be humble. So when Henry came into MMA, he stayed quiet like a wrestler. Goes to win the title. Well, hold on. I back that up. So we're talking about when he's in wrestling, especially when Henry's an Olympic hero. He was the youngest in history. He was the only Olympic gold medalist for wrestling in 2008. If he does a camp in wrestling, if he goes to any wrestling arena, he's adored by all fans. The moment he entered MMA, 50% hated him. 50%, which is he never experienced that. So he kind of even shut more down. You're a quiet wrestler because that's what you're supposed to be. Then he got in MMA and 50% hated him, so he even got more quieter. He got quieter. So then he's like, well, I'm going to win the title. Then they'll like me. Loses to Demetrius Johnson, and he got tore apart. The Olympic champion loses and whatever. He even got more quieter. And then he goes, well, now he didn't sleep for 2 years after that fight. Finally, we made the right adjustments. Dave Zowine from Fight Ready invested in revamping and reconstructing Henry Cejudo. We traveled the world for him to get better. Singapore, Holland, the Pitbull brothers in Brazil. Whatever it took for him to get better, we did. And he won the title. At this point, he's thinking, everybody's going to love me. Nope. Same thing, 50% don't like you. So then, that is why the King of Cringe, or Triple C, was born. Because then he's like, you know what? There's nothing I can do to make these people like me. I won the Olympics. I came back from a first round knockout to beat the greatest of all time, and I'm still getting hated on. And that's how he's like, you know what? I'm just gonna let loose. I'm gonna be myself. I don't care what people think, because it doesn't matter whether you win.
It doesn't matter what you do. 50% are always going to dislike you. And to tell you the truth, it doesn't even matter if 100% dislike you. Look at Floyd Mayweather is how is a boxer and Conor McGregor, an MMA fighter, at the top of the Forbes list. When you start, he probably started at 8,000 and 8,000. You go to basketball, the people sitting at the bench start at 1 million or whatever it is, 500,000 minimum. If you're on the bench, you don't even play. How does a person that starts at 8,000 surpass a person that starts at 1 million and doesn't even play, and surpasses the guys that are the stars of the NBA or the NFL? How does that happen? By not caring about what people think. So, yes, I'm me, but you say, what are they? For me to explain who I am, it doesn't matter. Anything I say is not going to matter to them, and that's the simple truth, and that's how what I tell my fighters, because a lot of my fighters are Brazilians, and jiu-jitsu's like that too. Very humble, supposed to be quiet. You're not supposed to, and they're just humble, and it's I tell them this is sports entertainment. You got to sell the fight, and it's tough. It's tough to get through to them. They have limited mic skills, so that's when the captain was born, and I started taking over and trying to help them to build their image. And now look where we're at. We're talking about cost promotions. We got $1 million. Bellator's greatest fighter of all time, Patricia Pitbull, has got $1 million bet with Dana White. We got rivals with SBG and City Kickboxing, the Pitbull brothers.
Yeah, and Henry going back and forth with Ryan Garcia, great up-and-coming boxer for Golden Boy.
Ryan Garcia, he's going back and forth with Volkanovski. We're coming. We wanted him to be C4, and make his legend even bigger. He's already, nobody will ever do what he's done, but there is a couple champs, but the Olympic champion, what makes him different. But if it's just MMA, he could be the first to get 3 belts in 3 different categories. But I don't know. They don't want that fight. So I think they're afraid that they're gonna vacate, that he would win and vacate like GSP did. And my idea is to make a BMF belt for 155 pound and under. Throw him against Volkanovski for a BMF belt. We still get a belt. He becomes C4. We can still fight Peter Yan on a BMF belt match. We could fight Davison Figueiredo on a BMF belt match, all on catch weights. So, I mean, come on, you got the greatest fighter of all time, the greatest combat athlete of all time. You got to take care of him.
Man, I love that. BMF 155 and under. I would never, ever bet against Henry Cejudo and Captain Eric Albarracin. I've known you guys about 10 years. Like I said, man, I've been blessed to be around you. Done a lot of interviews over the years. We have the platform on MMA Weekly now. We've come so far. I've really paid my dues and risen in the sport over the years, and a lot of that's because of relationships I built with people like you guys. Not only the interviews, hanging out at the house, watching you guys train, being around all that greatness. It really is contagious. There's no question about it. It just kind of feeds itself, and when you're in the presence of it, it just permeates and comes through you as a form of energy. There's no doubt about it. So I want to say thank you, man. I really appreciate all the time, all the interviews, all that knowledge and all that wisdom and all that greatness that I've been able to soak in being around you guys.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Let's rise together. Let's take out Ariel Helwani. Let's take him out. I gotta get yeah. I don't even why I brought him up. I don't like that dude. But I'm here at Fight Island, but when we leave here, we have Bellator is gonna have Leandro Ego on this fight too. Leandro Alter Ego is gonna be fighting Ricky Bandejas in Bellator. So I'm really excited for that fight, because I think that's a title eliminator fight, and the winner can go for the title, Juan Archuleta. So, excuse me. And we've already beaten Juan Archuleta. Patricio Pitbull beat him in a dominant 5-round fight in the first round of the $1 Million Grand Prix tournament. So I'm excited for Leandro Higo to achieve his dream of becoming a Bellator champion. Hopefully that happens this year as well. Korean Zombie. I mean, we got big things happening. We got Soul Glow over here. He's going to come into American MMA. That's going to be happening soon. Hopefully at Dana White's Contender Series. I'm going to introduce him into Dana White this week. We got big things going on with the Pitbull Brothers. We got White Walker. Hodor just got signed by Bellator. I'm coming after all the belts, you know. Maybe even I'm looking to have another champion, Paulo Costa. Paulo Costa can move up. You know, he's a big 185 pounder, and we could get that. He could become champion. To tell you the truth, you know, we talk about C4, but I think I can have triple champs as well. You know, Patricia Pitbull could win it at 135 pounds as well in Bellator, to have 3 belts in 3 different categories. And Paulo is another person that could do it. You know, Paulo gets big. If he's got to chase John Jones, you know, John Jones vacated, he can go up to heavyweight as well. So, you know, he's the complete package. He's going to be the new face of the UFC come Saturday night, UFC 253. You've just been erased.
All right, Captain Eric Albarracin coaching Paulo Costa, the Eraser, the middleweight championship on the line, looking to take down the undefeated Israel Adesanya, maybe literally take him down and then take him out. Some ground and pound with the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and the grappling and the wrestling for the Eraser, who's also undefeated at 13-0. Captain Eric Albarracin, nominated for Coach of the Year, World MMA Awards, in the corner of Paulo Costa this weekend. Last thing, man, anything you want to say to the fans, it's all you, brother.
I know Dana White really likes Paulo. You know, what's not to like? Look at him. He's built like a Greek god. Looks like Ricky Martin, hits like Mike Tyson. Not all monsters look like monsters. And Paulo Costa is now a Monster Energy drink athlete. So that's some big news. You know, Israel got signed by Puma. But last I looked, monsters can beat Pumas. So that's some big news is for Paulo Costa. And I know that Israel wanted to be signed by Puma. I mean, I'm sorry, it was trying to get signed by Monster, and the deal didn't get done. But Paulo got the deal done with Monster, so I think that's cool. You know, he's going to be the new face of the UFC. Watch and see.
All right, Cap, thanks, man. You know I love you. Have fun over there on Fight Island, and go do what you do best this weekend against Israel Adesanya with Paulo Costa. Get that middleweight championship. Bring it back to Arizona so I can get a picture with another belt, brother. Appreciate you.
All right. Take care.
Everybody, take care.